welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
This is Season 8, Episode 13.
Or Episode 179 if you're counting.
Thank you, as always, to the Patreon contributors at patreon.com/MarsGirl who make this show and all kinds of other stuff we do possible. And speaking of Patreon, I did just finish another review that just went up today for the Patreon contributors about the anime that came out this past year called Re:Zero, Starting Life in Another World, over on Crunchyroll right now. Also kind of want to let you guys know that I've got a bit of a new schedule coming up for my videos, at least. Mondays, with any luck, I'm going to be releasing reviews of my choice. Middle of the week on Wednesdays, Seeing Sentai is going to be back in full form.
Yes.
Yes. And then on Fridays, so long as there is a request review in the queue, then Fridays will be for Patreon requested reviews. So
sounds good.
Yeah, I'm really prepared to be on the schedule. So if you guys can at all make it over to patreon.com/MarsGirl to ensure that we actually keep the schedule up, that would be amazing. But thank you for keeping us here this long. What else is going on with you, Josh?
Don't you have something else to do Saturday?
What else are we doing Saturday?
Well, don't you do your stream?
That is very true, yeah. Saturday at 5 p.m. Central is the monthly Patreon-only stream, so yes, again, patreon.com/MarsGirl. So long as you're a patron at the $5 level, you can get a chat with me that nobody else ever gets, and you don't get to see otherwise. So yeah. And what else, Josh?
No, this is all Josh.
No, what else is going on with you, Josh?
I am technically getting over injury.
Yeah. So, hospital, yes?
Yes. Had some back problems. They gave me some real powerful narcotics, which unfortunately are kicking in right now. You guys are used to our opening there, but unfortunately I'm taking the same stuff that you mentioned you had taken before for your nausea.
It's something really similar,
It's a very similar byproduct of that particular medicine that makes you hear everything about a half step lower in pitch than normal, and for people who love music or are musically inclined, it drives you nuts. And now I know exactly what you're feeling, because listening to the opening, I know how it's supposed to sound, and I know it does sound normal, but to me, I'm perceiving it as lower pitch than normal.
So yeah,
and I'm hanging in there.
You thought I was crazy. You thought I was crazy when it was initially happening to me.
I didn't think I'd end up having to take something for it that would give me the same effect.
Yeah,
I thought I was immune.
It's bizarre.
I'm not immune.
Bizarre. No, people mostly are not immune to drugs.
Mostly?
Mostly, yeah.
Well, no, it's just not often that I have to deal with the side effects of things.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's just your regular, antibiotics, penicillin, get out of here, you're good as new. But no, this stuff I have to take until my back problems are healed up. I mean, I'm working on it, but the sooner I can get this stuff out of my system, the better. Because this is terrible.
It's bad,
It's bad, yeah.
So get better so you don't have to take it. Yeah. Like, I threw my stuff out from the last time I got really sick, and I was like, I'm never taking this again. Never. It drove me insane. Absolutely insane, because every single sound that I already knew exactly what key it's in, I perceived it as being lower pitch than I know it actually is, and it's wild. It's totally wild.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aside from that, we did have some interesting stuff to do over the weekend. We get to go to our local Think Geek opening at a mall nearby, which is actually pretty cool. I actually won something.
Yeah. In fact, we've got it over here.
Yeah, we've got it over here, so we can show what we got. So we had been in line pretty much when the store opened, and they were calling out, raffle tickets just to win various memorabilia that they have there at Think Geek. And we were pretty much done for the day. We had walked in, got a purchase, and walked out. We were on the bottom floor of the mall. The Think Geek is up on the top floor.
On the second floor.
We just happened to be in earshot, and they call out a number, and I hear you say, "Oh man, they were one number off from me." And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm one number off from you. I checked my raffle ticket, and from the bottom floor yelling up to the food court, "It's me! I got it! I got it!" So I won this.
And people up there, you can see they're looking down like, what the hell? And they all cheer for you as you're running around the corner.
Like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory running up there with the golden ticket. And I happened to win this Star Trek planetary glass set, which has different planets and Really, what I want is the
board
cube shot glass. That's the one I'm gonna be drinking out of. Mind you, I don't drink, but you know.
Like we're actually gonna use these, huh? I mean, I guess we.
Yeah, give me the board cube.
Yeah, it's all wrapped in its little plastic bag.
Yeah, I don't know how well you guys can see that little board cube shot glass. It's got the design of the board cube on there.
I'm going to see how well you can actually see. What is the green one? The green one is Konos, but it's green. This is just for fun because I think it's going to disappear on camera.
Well, let's see.
Woo-hoo!
Oh, that disappeared real quick.
Woo, woo, woo.
Fun with green screen, people.
Yep. One of them is Earth, one of them is Romulan. So this is cool. That's a cool win.
Yes, very cool win because it was either that or winning tickets to the local Comicon, which might have been better that I stayed away from based on some of the stuff we'll be talking about tonight.
Yeah, of course. So is there anything else that we need to talk about before talking about
as usual, we do want to thank those of you who are out with us live tonight. We know a lot of you had the option of going to see Wonder Woman tonight, and I can only assume you either really like us or couldn't get tickets. Either way, thank you for being here.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing Wonder Woman on Saturday.
Yes.
I am very excited about it given everything we're hearing back from it
is overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. I'm just so shocked that this came out of Warner Brothers.
Out of DC?
Out of DC, Warner Brothers. Oh man. So I hope that shapes what they do from here on out.
One can only hope.
So yeah. Aside from that, I suppose we should go ahead and talk about our major news stories for today. Like we were talking about in relation to Comic-Cons, our first major story coming up in a little bit is going to be in relation to Phoenix Comic-Con, which happened last weekend, and I'm sure many of you heard by now. There was a bit of a disturbance with a person who was bringing in weapons who thankfully was stopped, but we're also going to talk about what he was trying to accomplish, what actually ended up happening thanks to his disruption during the con, and how that affected everybody involved.
Yes. Our second story for the evening will have to do with some developments with SquareEnix. A lot of games being announced, not really announced.
Sort of.
And other things that they're going to be diverting attention away from towards other things. Some stuff we've complained about, other stuff we'll be complaining about for the first time.
So, somewhat. And then our final story for the evening is in relation to Ultraman Geed. There's been a big old conference.
Yes, press conference
that
was
released
just
all
today.
the information about casting, and different toys were shown off at this press conference. Lots of new photos and things to talk about. So hey, more Ultraman is great for everybody.
Yes, because we can support stateside Toku that way.
Definitely.
All right, but before we get into those, you know what I got.
What do you have, Josh?
I got follow-ups.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go with it.
Sure thing.
And starting off, full-blown Justice League. Let's get it up there. Full-blown Justice League. So we actually have some Justice League information for you guys. Now, this is something I was waiting to see how long it would take before they started to backtrack on it. So, as you guys have known, we've been keeping up with Justice League as it's been developing, as it's been going through rewrite and setback after setback. Well, one of the things we've been complaining about is the lack of Superman. Well, they've decided to go ahead and fix that thanks to this photo that we're seeing floating around now from various theaters of...
What am I looking at? Is it this?
It's a popcorn tub.
Oh, that's what that is. I thought it was like a shot glass.
No, it's a popcorn tub.
I didn't know what this was.
You know, at some of the larger theaters, they have the limited edition popcorn tubs. Well, these new tubs... cups that they'll be serving at the theater will actually have Superman on them.
Wow.
He's in the movie, guys.
I was convinced he wasn't.
I was almost convinced that they weren't going to do it other than the fact that they said he was, but I was starting to not believe. So here we are, beginning of June. They've confirmed, no, don't worry, guys. He's totally there. Calm down.
I can't calm down. I'm still scared for Justice League.
I'm less scared for Wonder Woman, but I'm still scared for Justice League.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so let's move on to another member of the Justice League, Aquaman. So we've got confirmation this week that the story of Aquaman, the solo movie, will take place after the events of Justice League. It was funny, though, listening to the director talk about where the placement is in terms of the DC Extended Universe. Well, you know, we can do stories before a movie, we can do stories after a movie, we can't do stories between movies because that already took place, but we're going to have it take place after. Like, he was just naming positions. is really the way that breaks down.
That doesn't sound very informative.
No, it doesn't. You could have just said, yeah, it takes place after Justice League and left it at that.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't have to try and fill time. Sometimes when you don't have anything to say,
like maybe
don't say it.
Don't try to convince me because it'll make me more confused. Actually,
yes,
you're not helping your case.
Exactly. Okay, moving on to Warner Brothers Animated. So we've got an official trailer now for Batman and Harley Quinn. This, of course, coming out of DC Animated from the Bruce Timm part of the DC Animated Universe. Of course, that gave birth to so many of the other great cartoons that we got out of that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we confirmed before that Kevin Conroy, Lauren Lester will be returning to the roles of Batman and Nightwing, respectively.
Very good.
Melissa Rauch taking on the role of Harley Quinn. We'll be able to expect that later on this summer. Okay, moving on over to Marvel news. So with Guardians of the Galaxy, they're doing very well at the box office, with Volume 2 now passing $800 million at the domestic box office.
You know, it took a couple weeks, but I'm finally hearing people who didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It took a little while, but it finally
Admittedly,
happened.
yes, and some people who were kind of hesitant to go see it are finally like, you know what, it's calmed down enough, I'll go see it. You know, or my brother decided to finally go see it. A friend of ours went to go see it on Monday, but it's still gaining. So it may actually hit that billion mark before it's done in its first run in theaters. Over on the Spider-Man Homecoming end of things, so Tom Holland, who's of course playing Peter Parker there in the movie, gave some explanation as to the basis for his characterization of Peter Parker, and when you hear it, you can't unhear it anymore, that he based his portrayal off what it would be like if Michael J. Fox had been Spider-Man.
Oh, you know, that does kind of make sense.
Because now that he says it, I hear it, and then I can't unhear it.
Yeah. Do you think Michael J. Fox would have been a good Spider-Man?
Well, there were rumors back in the day that he was up for it with earlier drafts of the script in the 80s, so it's entirely possible that he could have at one point done it. I do think that we got a Spider-Man movie when we needed to back in 2002. But
I don't think it's the movie we deserved at the time. I think we clamored for it.
It's the Jameson we deserved.
The Jameson, yes. I think we clamored for it because I think we were ready for comic book movies.
Yes.
And it was the best we got at the time.
Yes.
But I definitely think that it's getting better every iteration.
Yes.
But still, we keep remaking the same comic book movies, and thus I'm thankful for Wonder Woman because she's not a remade comic book movie.
No, she's not.
Anyway, that's about all I had to say.
Okay, and then in relation to Infinity War, so we've got a couple of things to report here. The first thing being that there's a fairly good chance that Mjolnir will be back as one whole piece in Infinity War, kind of like we were really worried about that.
Yeah, we knew it wasn't going to be in much trouble.
And that they're confirming that this movie will have the highest number of CG-rendered characters out of any Marvel movie. Well, no duh.
Yeah, I mean, space.
Yeah,
I mean,
space.
yeah.
Everybody on the field at once. It's unavoidable.
I mean, cool. They didn't need to give me that information.
They didn't really need to give us that, but that's just the thing. Okay, so moving on to some sci-fi news here. Over with Godzilla vs. King Kong. So we've gotten confirmation that the director of Godzilla vs. King Kong will be Adam Wingert, who of course will be directing this upcoming Netflix rendition of Death Note. A lot of people on both sides of the fence, whether or not they like or don't like this decision. Again, having a basis in horror does help for a monster movie.
Sure.
I do hold true to that. Again, we still haven't seen the Netflix Death Note yet. We're going to have to wait a little bit on there. But I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, like you're talking, we haven't seen this new Death Note movie yet. I don't have any reason to distrust or dislike him, so give it a shot.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot, absolutely.
Fine.
Okay, moving over to something we were talking about recently with the Universal Dark Universe set of movies.
Well, you were just talking about it last week.
Right, so the reports going around right now is that specifically Angelina Jolie and Dwayne Johnson are being courted specifically for the roles of the Bride of Frankenstein and the Wolfman.
I can maybe see Angelina Jolie.
I can easier see her doing Bride of Frankenstein, especially based off Maleficent. Like they can give her the bone structure for it.
Yes, yeah, she's already got the face for it, I think.
Whereas, Dwayne Johnson as the Wolfman, it almost seems too easy.
You think too easy?
Almost, yeah, like just seeing him rage out. Like I've seen him do that in a WWE ring for years, and that's not even hardly a jump in logic.
Yeah, of course.
But I can watch him do that in a car.
Yes.
So that's why you go to Fast and Furious movies. Otherwise, I don't know, like, I know they're not connected, but I actually really liked the Joe Johnson Wolfman that came out a couple of years back. Oh, more than a couple at this point. I don't know, he's just not my first choice for the Wolfman.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm not very good at playing the who would you cast instead game, but I kind of agree that I know when I see a person that I don't agree with. That's all I can tell you.
Right, because I look at it this way. If we were doing, say, Altered Beast, and Dwayne Johnson was cast as the main guy in Altered Beast, and he becomes a huge dude who becomes a huge wolf, that's fine. But as far as the Wolfman, I'd prefer if it was somebody smaller who got bigger, not somebody who was already big to begin with.
I hear you. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just my rationale on that. Okay, some other news from Warner Brothers, literally the Warner Brothers and the Warner sister. So if you guys can take a look here, there are rumors going around that Animaniacs is going to get a reboot.
It could be done. We have lived in an animated age where animated reboots have been okay. Some have not been, but the only way this would work is if the entire creative team came back. And the composer for this and all those other kind of afternoon Warner Brothers animated shows of that time period, that composer passed away years ago.
Unfortunately, yes.
So I'm concerned that it wouldn't have that same cinematic, orchestrated feel to go along with it, and that I feel like it's a huge part of it, because it's that classic kind of Warner Brothers animated. You think of Looney Tunes, for example, right? Everything, the music was composed for each and every single one of those animated shorts. The music adds to a punchline, you know? And it does that in Animaniacs too. So maybe they can get somebody else who can do equally as good of a job. We'll see.
Much the same, you have to get the voice cast back.
The voice cast, I don't think it would be that difficult. It shouldn't be. They're all still alive, so like I can't hear another set of voices along with those three. I can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Keep them the same.
Please.
His name is Robert Paulson. Okay, moving on to some other news here. Going over to some anime news. So, of course, we've been talking to you guys about the Full Metal Alchemist live-action movie. So we've got another reason for people to want to go to Anime Expo. If it wasn't enough that Sakaguchi was going to be out there at Anime Expo, we can now confirm that the director for Full Metal Alchemist, Fumihiko Sori, and lead actor Ryosuke Yamada, who's playing Edward Elric, will be there in attendance for a panel for the movie.
That's pretty cool. And the movie's coming out when?
Later this year.
So it'll be
Japan
after...
on December 1st.
Okay. Oh, so much later. It'll be after Anime Expo.
Yes, but some people will get a good look at that, I imagine. They wouldn't come empty-handed.
Surely not, you would think.
You would think, yes. Just very much looking forward to all the stories I'll get to hear of the people who get to go out there instead of us.
I know, I see you dreaming. I'm sorry.
And bring it in. Okay, so moving on to some other news here. So, as far as the Power Rangers reboot movie is concerned, so now we're getting details on the DVD and Blu-ray, which is going to be coming out on digital HD Tuesday, June 13th. That's coming up. And then Blu-ray on June 27th.
Cool.
We also have unconfirmed reports. Now, remember this. Unconfirmed reports that because of toy sales... Lionsgate may be considering going ahead with the sequel. The thing to remember is to take that with a grain of salt, because toy sales do not make up for box office.
Well, on top of that, what do they mean, toy sales? The toys, I don't think they've sold that well.
Well, because the thing about it is the market reported an upswing of about 122% for Power Rangers toys, but they don't specifically cite what Power Rangers toys. That's just in general.
That's a good point, because it can't be those movie toys, because those movie toys were starting to get discounted before the
heavily
film
discounted
even came out.
At your local Walmart right now. So if you guys actually want to collect those, by all means, you'll save about $10 per Zord. But that's something to go ahead and report on there. Moving on to some Overwatch news. Of course, right now we're in the middle of the year celebration, the 1-year anniversary. For the first time in a year, my favorite character, Reaper, has finally been buffed.
Well, okay, tell me about that, Josh.
Now, for the longest time, Reaper's power, as it were, was to go ahead and defeat his enemies and then absorb their powers as these little red orbs that would regain some health. Now they've done away with that completely. Now he will regain health as he kills. Making him a bit more formidable. So, for those of you who laughed at Reaper mains, who's laughing now? Okay.
They're still gonna laugh at you.
They're still gonna laugh at you.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
Okay. Moving on to some Tokusatsu news. So we have confirmation here that Q Ranger will be launching an episode of Stinger. This being a direct-to-video release in October for the character of Stinger, Sasori Orange there on the Q Ranger team. The show's doing well enough to warrant its own spin-off DVD here.
My understanding is that this is going to be the first time that a Sentai team member has had a solo V-Cinema style movie. Because it's not that Sentai has not had V-Cinemas before.
No, we've had other ones. Not solo during the run of the show within the first several episodes, because usually, you know, it's a 10 years later, it's the versus, it's an after the fact sort of thing. Like we're getting Galvan versus Deca Ranger here in just a few weeks, but this is a first.
Yes.
So, and as far as we're concerned, watching this show, Stinger's story is really what's pushing the narrative along right now.
Yeah, so far it's totally about him and his brother and trying to battle dark matter, save the universe, but specifically through this family.
Yes.
So we'll see what they do with this.
Yes, over with Kamen Rider Exade, pre-orders are going up right now for the Hyper Muteki Gashot, which we'll be seeing in just a few weeks when Exade gets his final form of Hyper Muteki Gamer. So be on the lookout for your local toy distributor to go ahead and get your pre-order in on that. They will go quick. And the last thing we wanted to go ahead and report on in relation to Japan World Heroes, they just announced today a new guest for the lineup, none other than Ren Kiriyama, actor from Kamen Rider Double, who played the role of Hidari Shotaro there in the show. That, of course, happening this August. 26th and 27th tickets just went on sale today. The base set price for a 3-day weekend pass is $30.
Yeah, it's 2 days.
Or 2 days.
26 and 27. So right. I suppose that makes more sense that it would only be $30. I'm kind of relieved. I expected it to be $40 or higher.
Yes.
I really expected
now,
it to
they
be
do have
higher.
$100 packages in there if you are so financially inclined to do so. But yes, definitely get on that. We just bought our tickets today. We're going.
Yep. So that's the plan anyway.
That is the plan.
God willing, it doesn't all crash and burn and fall through.
Hell or high water. I've decided it.
All right, so that's where we're at.
Yes, that's where we're at with our follow-ups. Let's go ahead and get started with our first story.
All right, so we're looking at the Phoenix Comicon logo. It's a phoenix. And
it's a phoenix.
And it's in Phoenix.
It's in Phoenix.
So this
Phoenix.
No. This Comic-Con happened last weekend, and there have been times when I've had other friends say, hey, come out to Phoenix Comic-Con, and I've been interested in it before in the past, never had the chance to go out. Maybe this year was not the year to go, I guess.
Based off recent events, yes.
Yes. So, I would rather not name the name of the individual who came and kind of ruined everything for everybody, but I'll tell you what he did. So, a dude came into the convention who was specifically trying to skirt security.
Yes.
And he was kind of identifying himself with the Punisher, fictional comic book character, the Punisher. And if you know anything about the Punisher, you know he's very laser focused on a given, like, this guy did me wrong, this guy's a really bad person, and since the law's not going to help me, I'm going to take the law into my hands, and just, he's not afraid
just shoot him up.
And just shoot him up. So, with that mentality, it would appear that he had a very specific target in mind, and that target was former Green and multiple other colored Rangers, Jason David Frank, who was a guest there at Phoenix Comic-Con this past weekend, and he was signing autographs and things of that nature. So here he was attempting, like I said earlier, to skirt security. He had told another woman beforehand what his plans were, And that woman then went to authorities saying, oh, this sounds really bad, I need to let somebody know. And it's a good thing that she did, because then they were able to track him down. And yeah, he was carrying various different loaded weapons. I want to say close range weapons also.
Yes, he had different blades and loaded guns there that he managed to get onto the premises. But thankfully, the authorities were able to stop him thanks to the tip-off from this young woman, who he was in contact with and was telling his plans to.
Furthermore, it wasn't just Jason David Frank. These earlier reports said that he was targeting bad police officers because he was the real-life version of the Punisher. So, you know, it was part police officers and part aiming for Jason David Frank. Came up with a wild story that, what was it, 15 years ago?
Yes.
He had stabbed Jason David Frank and was coming back to finish the job. Jason David Frank himself said later, I've never been stabbed, so, you know, that can't be true.
So, first and foremost, we want to, of course, thank the police department there in Phoenix for doing such a bang-up job to make sure that nobody was hurt at this event. Like many people have commented on over the weekend, Comic-Cons are meant to be a safe place for people to come and enjoy their fandoms with other different fans without worry of any sort of retaliation or any sort of a negative impact from somebody bringing in beef from the outside. That having been said, of course, later on that afternoon, after everything had already gone down, Jason David Frank did, in fact, have a press conference, albeit brief, about 10 minutes, talking about his thoughts on the situation.
And some of it made sense. Some of it was, you know, thanking law enforcement,
right?
Thanking the staff, the staff and the security at the con, feeling very blessed that nobody was hurt, and feeling very blessed that he actually, I want to say his description was that he arrived a little late.
Yes.
And so the individual who was planning on doing whatever shooting he was planning on doing had already been caught at that point in time, because Jason David Frank was supposed to be doing an autograph signing at about that time he got caught, but Jason himself says, well, if he'd looked at the schedule, he would have seen that I was rescheduled and I wasn't even going to be there at that point in time anyway. I got there later, so the fact that I was there later, maybe that was also kind of a blessing in disguise too. There were just a couple other things I didn't necessarily agree with, like he began to speak up and try to represent all comic conventions across the United States. Like he specifically used the words, I speak for all Comic Cons when I say we will crack down on weapons and weapon policies and props, which is also kind of funny because he then later said exactly the opposite thing and said, I can't speak for all cons, but so that was, you know, I've got kind of a love-hate relationship with Jason David Frank. However, certainly does not say he deserves to be the target of any sort of terror.
No, by no means.
Or his fans, or anybody at that event.
What was funny about it, and you can find the comedy in this, is that he starts off the press conference by saying he's just going to, quote-unquote, stick to the cards that were written, and then clearly about 3 to 4 minutes in, he diverts from that. You know, in very classic Iron Man kind of style there in the first movie. That having been said, this has brought up a lot of questions about the kind of security that goes on at comic conventions. Now, understandably, what was going on there specifically at Phoenix Comic Con, there was a weapons check set up, but this person decided to skirt it. They were making themselves more obvious by not going through the normal checkpoint. So they were already a person of suspicion to begin with. On top of that, after this took place, a lot of the other vendors at the convention were asked if they were in fact selling any prop or replica weapons to cease their sales. Some complied very quickly, others decided not to. So that led to a bit of animosity between the convention and some of the vendors there. But really, the big thing to take away from that is to make sure that the primary concern is the safety of all the attendees at the convention.
Yes.
So that having been said, that does bring up a lot about what can be said about what goes on at these conventions, because thankfully we can look at this and see this could have been a lot worse.
Oh, of course.
Incredibly worse.
Yeah, he could have just walked in and gotten started. And that has happened to too many different public venues. To too many places where people are supposed to feel safe and supposed to feel welcomed. I strongly feel like that is not the fault of somebody carrying fake prop weapons, things that are obviously fake, that obviously aren't guns, that obviously aren't blades, things of that nature. And people are just carrying these things around openly, because obviously they're not real, and it's this guy who's got to try and do it covertly that is the real problem. Now, I can totally understand after a scare like that, maybe pull back. My concern is that it will then ruin everybody's enjoyment. And there were some people that weekend who were trying to make the best of it.
Right.
They had costumes that involved prop weapons of some variety, and instead they would be replacing them with just pieces of cardboard that has the name of the weapon or a sound effect written on this piece of cardboard, and they'll just have to hold it like it's actually a weapon.
But they're taking it in stride.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the thing. For the time period, immediately you're not going to be able to hold your prop weapon that you held onto, because immediately this is right after it happened, so you can expect that kind of thing. But as far as the safety of attendees there at not only this Comic-Con but other Comic-Cons going on, we do have to realize now that Comic-Cons have become more common in the everyday. People more often than ever are talking about, hey, you know, did you go to the convention this week? Oh, yeah, I was up there. You know, we just had one here in town, too. Thankfully, no
issues there, yeah.
Or issues there, even though we've had a few in the past here specifically, but that's a whole nother story. That having been said, the ideas and the ideals stay the same. You know, keep vigilant. If you see something going on, make sure to report it. Thankfully, the young woman who was in contact... Oh, excuse me. With this person, made sure immediately to tell the authorities, hey, this doesn't sound good, can you please come check this out?
Yes.
And so long as everybody keeps on the ball for those sort of things, we can keep having fun. Because that's the overall ideal. We want to keep having fun. We want to keep this idea that people can still come out here and enjoy themselves, make their costumes, show them off, and not have to worry about any sort of terrible event taking place.
Because I do feel like Comic-Cons for decades have kind of been looked at as this nerdy underground thing, but you're kind of right. They've become very popular now.
Yes.
They're increasing in popularity, and as they begin to embrace television and film along with it,
which they do now,
it begins to also bring in a far more casual audience that doesn't necessarily always read comics, but it introduces people to reading comics, and now suddenly what was once super nerdy and reserved for people that you're like, oh, I wouldn't go near them, I don't want to smell them, I don't want to do anything, it becomes a very, all things considered, very normal sort of thing. It's becoming more and more normalized. But when we have things like this begin to happen, my concern is that, nope, only crazy people go there. I'm not going to go to a Comic-Con if people are going to be showing up and doing dangerous things. So, but I feel like this was contained so fast. Hopefully that will not be an issue.
Really, I think the best thing to do is to take away from this that this is the shining example of what happened. People were on the ball, were alerted, and nothing happened.
Right.
And for the most part, most attendees weren't affected. Granted, yeah, you don't get to carry around your pulse rifle that you might have brought if you were in, you know, Space Marine cosplay, but you can get over that.
Yeah.
It's a small price to pay in order to continue having the event that you're having there, because, you know, like you're saying, as it becomes more common, you know, you don't necessarily have to read comics to go to a comic convention anymore. You know, a kid nowadays can have never picked up a single issue of DC Comics, but they like Stephen Amell because they watch Arrow.
Yes.
And they'll want to go meet him at a convention. There's no problem with that, but the thing about it is we want to make sure that kid can stay safe at that event. So as such, I do think it's good to keep the level of security that we do have now, but not crack down so hard that it ruins the spirit of what goes on there.
Well, part of my concern with the press conference that Jason David Frank gave was kind of this idea that cons don't already have a weapons and props check system in place, or some kind of security system in place. I don't necessarily think that was his intention, but I do think his phrasing might concern people who don't know any better, that there aren't already things in place that this guy wasn't obviously already trying to skirt his way around.
Like, this guy knew that there was a weapons check policy, and he tried to get around it. And I know for specifically for his autograph line, they were saying for anybody bringing in a Dragon Dagger or Saba to make sure that they brought it in its original packaging. That way they could still bring it and get it signed, which it's absolutely reasonable, I would argue. But that having been said, this guy is not somebody who was able to ruin it for everybody, I don't think. Because it was stopped, because nothing happened, we can make an example of this, of what we can aspire to. That we can keep our convention safe, we can have fun, and make sure that anybody who's trying to ruin it can't.
I think there's going to be a very brief amount of time where cons are going to respond to this and crack down on weapons even harder, but I think this happens from time to time, and it'll ease up again, and I think everybody's still going to be able to build the props that they want to build and still keep coming to cons the way that we always have. I think it'll happen again. I think we'll be okay.
Right. And thankfully, it's not often that you get to report on, oh, thank God nothing happened, but that's what we're doing here. We want to make sure to shine a bright light on what did happen positively.
Yes.
So thankfully, this is what it is. Nothing bad happened. If you're planning on going to a comic convention in your local town or somewhere nearby you, don't be too afraid, but at least just keep an eye open.
Yeah, definitely.
That would just be our advice.
Always stay aware. I think that's a good thing to tell anybody going anywhere big and crowded and looking to have a good time.
Right.
I think that's very, very safe rules to follow.
And if you're a vendor there, don't be a dick. Just stop selling your stuff. Switch to fidget spinners. They're fine.
Yeah. Usually. So long as they're not shaped like very sharply sharpened batarangs.
I do kind of want a batarang fidget spinner.
Yeah, just don't get a really sharp one though. Like
I know.
That seems dangerous.
Really,
spin, and then cut the inside of your hand.
The only reason I want a batarang fidget spinner is just so I can spin it and just so I can go for scene transitions.
You are the person the fidget spinner is made for, Josh. You are that person. A little bit. I'm moving on now.
Yes, let's move on.
So this is a picture that SquareEnix had.
Why do I have cloud hair?
Move your head. No,
I still have cloud hair.
Not that way.
I still have cloud hair.
Josh. Move away from Cloud's face.
Okay, there we
go. It's
go.
Cloud. So this was a picture that was released for Final Fantasy VII Remake like a couple months back where they said, hey, we've got something new from Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's a picture.
Oh boy.
And that was about it. So, some of this is going to be retreading old ground as far as being upset about what it is SquareEnix decides to do, but some of it is going to be slightly newer, being irritated and kind of retreading it in a different way. So, initially, back on, the 26th, so it was earlier this week, about 6 days ago, SquareEnix had the president and CEO, Yosuke Matsuda, started talking about their plans for releasing their digital entertainment over the course of the next several years. So they've got some different plans for various titles, like more stuff from Final Fantasy 15. They keep making stuff for Final Fantasy 15, which, to an extent is really good. Because...
But only to an extent.
Yeah, only to an extent, because really, it should have been a completed game in the first place.
Right.
I've argued that before in the past, but at least because it's not complete, they realize, oh man, we should have had a more complete game. We better give them more game. So at least they keep doing that, so they still have plans to continue updating Final Fantasy 15 throughout the course of the year. They've got stuff for Rise of the Tomb Raider, new stuff for Deus Ex, new stuff for World of Final Fantasy, which, I thought that kind of dropped off really, really quickly.
Right.
New stuff for Nier Automata, and then...
Nier Automata Pia.
Yes. Then we've got new stuff coming up for next year and past that. So that includes Dragon Quest XI, Final Fantasy XII Zodiac Age, what is that? I can never remember the name of this particular title. Itadaki Street, which is, in the past has been kind of this board game, crossover Square and Enix thing that involves Dragon Quest characters and sometimes Final Fantasy characters and other characters by the two companies. So what has really gotten people upset is Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Right, so the idea is that they have said that they will be producing these games and putting them out as of next year, whether they are finished or not.
Well, that was the previous announcement.
Right.
That is not this announcement. This announcement...
Oh, so this is new crap.
Yeah, this is new different crap.
Okay, this is new different crap.
Yeah,
okay,
so,
what crap are they feeding us today?
Well, it's entirely possible that the games could come out next year, but that's not entirely likely. They're making plans for all the way up until 2020. Yosuke Matsuda says, this slide shows our release lineup for 2017 as well as for 2018 and beyond. We plan to launch each of these upcoming titles in the next 3 years or so. So it's entirely possible that it could take all the way up to the year 2020 for these games. Also, that mystery Marvel IP license that you remember they had a trailer for. Right. Once again, I think when that came out, I kind of argued, man, that could be really cool, but they're doing that thing again where all they show us is a teaser, and I bet all they have is a concept, and they haven't made a damn game.
Right, because at this point, like, we see through the fog.
Yeah.
What they like to do is put out these pictures, these little quick cinematics that they worked on, which really would only get you by so far in art school. Like, hey, here's my final assignment, I rendered something, it's about 30 seconds, do you like it? But they take that and then try to say, this is going to be a game. And the game never shows up.
Which really, I think the smarter thing to do, take for example, you remember how excited people were at the announcement of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, I still play that video back of the two announcer guys when they were saying it. Oh no, you didn't.
And just flipping out and then jumping up and down on their desk. Like, you toy with people like this, but you know damn well you haven't actually started to make a game yet. Like, I think it's better to go the Bethesda route and not announce a game until it's almost ready to go. Because otherwise you're just leaving people hanging for years. Now, like, I almost can't even be mad anymore, because there's part of us that we're hoping, well, maybe at E3 this year, because we're almost up to E3, maybe we'll get a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3 or Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that seems super highly unlikely right now.
But at this point, a trailer means nothing without a release date.
Yes. There's no sign of a release date.
Because at this point, another trailer for either one of those IPs would be an empty promise, just like everything else they've been giving us. Mm-hmm. So at this point, yeah, I can understand why you wouldn't even want to bother being mad, because at this point you don't believe them.
No, so that's not the only Bizarro World thing that Square has announced this past week. So furthermore, Final Fantasy VII Remake, apparently, you might remember, they were working, SquareEnix was working in conjunction with CyberConnect 2 in order to produce the game. And CyberConnect 2, as I had also explained before, they worked, for example, on the .hack franchise. Mm-hmm. So, take, for example, the 4 PS4 .hack games that all came out in one series, basically. They kind of made them all at once and then released them. They're basically episodic games, which is what Final Fantasy VII Remake is what we're told is going to be. It's going to be episodic. So that kind of made sense. Like, you build your game system, you build your world, you build your game mechanics, everything around it, and then you start to build little episodes and release them that way. I still don't like episodic releases, but if you were gonna do it with anybody, it should have been with CyberConnect 2. Well, now, That's not happening anymore. They tore the game away from CyberConnect 2, and they're bringing it back in-house to SquareEnix, as if SquareEnix isn't already super busy working on 3 other, you know, major titles, major AAA games. Furthermore, we've got Naoki Hamaguchi saying that he is now basically the lead producer in some way, shape, or form on this title. He's somebody who's worked on the mobile game Mobius Final Fantasy and Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13, and that's about the extent of his Final Fantasy progress and work and knowledge.
That having been said, that's better than last year with Old Man Tabata.
I guess. I mean, Old Man Tabata had worked on stuff before. They're about equal. Hajime Tabata, they're about equal in how much Final Fantasy they've produced.
Really?
Yeah, they're about equal. So, I do not know whether or not this means Tetsuya Nomura has been removed from the project.
I could only hope at this point, because
they don't say that. They do say that this decision to move away from CyberConnect 2 was a sensitive subject, and Hamaguchi says, I've taken over the development side of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Up until now, development has progressed by receiving external collaboration, but from here on out, with production and quality in mind, we're shifting to our in-house organization. This company's decision was made wanting to control quality as well as keeping the schedule stable.
Because at this point, you know, we've had our conversations before about Nomura and him being too scatterbrained.
He's a bit too scatterbrained, and in regards to this, I can recall there being a previous story of they've had a trailer, a different trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake ready for a while. However, he's so picky about aesthetics. So ridiculously picky.
Right.
He didn't feel as though that trailer looked Square Enix enough, and so he told them no, he didn't want it. So, my concern is that they're going to be scrapping a whole bunch of stuff and starting all over again, and that this is going to be
just
another...
because he's being picky.
Yeah, and this is going to be another Final Fantasy 15 all over again.
Well, see, the thing about it is, I think it would be in their best interest to go ahead and take Nomura off the project, because at this point, you know, yeah, because he's got some ties to it, that's one thing, but really, bottom line is, you're still a company, you need to put somebody in charge who's going to get it done.
Yes.
Because at this point, who trusts Square Enix to get anything done? We're lucky that we got 15 out of them.
And even then, there's things I'm disappointed with. Like it's not 10 years waiting good.
Right.
It's good, but it's not good enough. It will never meet your 10
Van
years.
Johnson good.
It will never meet your 10 years of waiting for it expectations. It just can't. It's the same with Kingdom Hearts 3.
And you're going to feel the same way about... Exactly. You're going to feel the same way about Kingdom Hearts 3. You're going to feel the same way about 7 Remake. So at this point, you might as well just come up with a plan and stick to it. Because if you're constantly trying to reevaluate what direction you're going in, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yes.
Almost... I wouldn't say quite too many cooks in the kitchen, just somebody needs to make a damn decision and stick with it.
Yes, exactly.
Because at that point, then we could go ahead and say, well, at least they kept on the track. You know, at least they got to the end and then they put it out. Because eventually that's the decision that they had to come to so that we could get 15. They had to decide, all right, we got to get it out. Let's do it. Let's just get it done.
And they had to move Nomura off the project in order to do it.
So if that worked for 15...
Just put him on Kingdom Hearts 3. I think that's the only thing.
Just give him some belts. He'll be fine. Let him loose in the fashion district. He won't even know the difference. Pay
him in belts and zippers
and key rings. You know, just a bunch of keys to dangle in front of him like a toddler, and he'll be fine with it.
Okay,
and let somebody else competent finish the game.
We gotta stop this. I hope that guy is competent enough. He hasn't worked on very much Final Fantasy, but I hope he's competent enough. We'll see. Alright, so we move on to Geed. What are we looking at here right now, Josh?
So what we're looking at is the presentation that was made today during the 2017 Tokyo Toy Show, where a lot of things were getting shown off today. A couple of things from different things that we've covered before, from Q Ranger, from Kamen Rider Exade. But the biggest thing today is the reveal of all this new information about Ultraman Geed.
He's very big. Because he's an Ultraman.
He's an Ultraman.
He's an Ultraman,
and so, as the latest installment here, like we've covered before here on the show, Ultraman has been doing very well, not just in Japan with this resurgence over the last couple of years, but over here stateside, since Crunchyroll has partnered with Tsuburaya to let it be shown over here. So this is another thing that we'll be able to hopefully see. We haven't confirmed it yet that we'll be getting Geed, but most likely that'll be the case.
The way that things have been moving with Tsuburaya doing a very good job of localizing things with subtitles for the United States, the only thing being Orb, whatever it is on Amazon.
Ultra Fight Victory, I think is what it is. The Orb... No, Orb Origin, that's what it is.
Orb Origin.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always get those two mixed up.
But that's Amazon. I feel like when they're partnered with Amazon, then we begin to have a problem.
Right, because technically we're still waiting for Kamen Rider Amazons.
Yeah, whatever happened to that announcement?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned it's not happening.
Let's go ahead and talk to you a little bit about the plot here. So, the story's going to focus around Riku Asakura, who's played by Tatsuomi Hamada, who's previously played another role in a different Ultraman series.
That should be this guy right here in the middle, right?
Yes, this guy right here holding the transformation device with the denim and the orange shirt. Riku, his character, is inspired to become a hero who saves people thanks to his favorite TV program, Bakuretsu Senki Donshin, but is shocked to learn he is the son of Ultraman Belial. Now, of course, Ultraman Belial is one of the more famous evil Ultraman that we've gotten in the last 5 to 10 years. The character works part-time at the Galaxy Market and lives at a secret base called the Seiyunso. To transform, Riku performs a fusion rise by scanning multiple Ultraman capsules containing the powers of past heroes. His base form is referred to as Ultraman Geed, Geed Primitive, which is comprised of both the power of Ultraman Belial and the original Ultraman.
It's very interesting.
Now, you'll see here the device there that he's holding, the Geed Riser. We're starting to see, because this was at a toy fair, people actually holding on to this thing. It's pretty sizable. It's about the size of a tambourine.
Yeah, it kind of bothers me that this is the direction, the very toyetic direction that Tokusatsu has moved into. But, that having been said, so long as the story is good, I guess I don't care that much.
Yes. We see here that Riku, I'm still learning the names here, Riku will have a friend who's a kaijin there, named Pega, who will be voiced by Megumi Han, who previously provided the voice for QMon in Ninja. Pega is a child from the Pegasa alien race who becomes friends with Riku after being saved by the hero. He's very shy and cowardly and looks to Riku for support in battle.
He looks like a relatively traditional Ultraman monster with big old antenna kind of eyes on top of his big old head. Hey, I like that he's wearing this zipper sweater hoodie thing going on. I know you guys can't see that right now, but if you look him up, I think I'm gonna want that.
He looks kind of cute.
Yeah, he's fashionable. He's got fashion going for him.
Yes. And then, of course, we'll go ahead and talk about our female lead. I think we can see her there in the picture right next to him, right over here. So, yes. The character's name is Raiha Toha, who will be played by Chihiro Yamamoto. A lot of people might recognize her just recently from Kamen Rider Heisei Generations as one of the lead villains in that particular movie. Notable for her is that she is highly trained in wushu.
Her actress is highly
trained in wushu and will be bringing that skill to the show.
Oh, that should be really cool.
She's described as a fierce woman who wields a sword. She's been pursuing the mystery behind the kaiju disaster of 6 years. While attempting to help a young girl, Raiha meets Riku for the first time and decides to live with him at the secret base. So I imagine it'll be nice to see somebody that capable there in an Ultraman series, because thankfully, having been more exposed to Ultraman over the last year or so with, Ginga, Ginga S, Ultraman X, they do have their female leads there be very competent and have somebody who's clearly physically capable there. I want to see her get into scraps with some kaiju if at all possible.
Yes, that would be great. I imagine they're going to allow her to do so. They wouldn't have hired such a capable actress unless she was going to get into it.
Yes. Let's see. We have another character here called Rem, a reports management system installed in the central computer of the secret base. located 500 meters beneath, so this is a hidden base. Riku is told, "You are the owner of this base," by Rem, who then gives him the Geed Riser and the Ultra Capsule. Geed Riser, I keep forgetting to do that. Rem uses the Utom aircraft to investigate the little star, so we will be seeing some of the traditional aircraft you see there in an Ultraman series.
That's cool.
Because you do need to see the quote-unquote science team get in there and get their due before Ultraman gets in and kicks butt.
I love me some science team.
Let's see here. We also have the character of Reito Igakuri, who is a
Reito Igakuri.
Yes, who is a salary man who will become the new host for Ultraman Zero. Of course, Ultraman Zero has been very prevalent in a lot of the Ultraman movies, voiced by Mamoru Miyano there and all the different iterations. Ultraman Zero, of course, will be getting an upgrade using the Geed Riser there in the show. Now, for the Geed Riser itself, Bandai Premium has released the information on it. So there are these little, what they call Ultra Capsules that are going to be used in the Geed Riser, and they're about comparable in size to the Dino batteries from Dino Charge or Kyoryuger, whichever you prefer to call it. What you'll do is you'll insert them into this little, I'd almost call it a slot thing, then you kind of click it in to the Geed Riser, and then hit a trigger, which will then spin a little light inside, and that will combine, as it says there in the show, the power of these two different Ultramen.
It will light up and it will make noises.
Yes.
Is what this toy does.
Kids love it. And you'll have the ability, as you can see there with some of the other suits there, to combine the powers of different Ultraman, much like in Ultraman Org. Of course, these will be going on sale very soon. The show will be premiering on July 8th on TV Tokyo, and the Geed Riser will be available in stores that same day for about, give or take, about $52 US.
Yes.
So pre-orders will be going up on that soon, very shortly. I'm not as quick to buy into Ultraman paraphernalia. Like, I kind of have to get into the show first before I buy it. Like,
I have to know the show's going to be good. I have to know I'm going to enjoy it.
There are some different cases where I can look at a transformation device and be like, no, that.
Yeah.
I want that, just bar none, I want it right now. And then there's other ones like, yeah, I'll wait on it. Like the Ghost Driver, I waited on it. I didn't need it immediately.
Right.
More like the Deca Driver, Decades transformation belt. I wanted that immediately. I immediately got on that mess. This one, because of the fact it's so clunky looking, I'm not as easily drawn to it.
I hear you, yeah.
And admittedly, yes, this is something to look forward to because Ultraman is still getting bigger, which is funny because he's
what
a
he
big
does.
guy.
He
That's
gets
what
big.
he does.
Yeah.
He gets big.
But
the thing of it is, because we're going to see this blend here of old and new, talking about fathers and sons. Geed is the son of Belial, and we'll be seeing Zero in there, who's the son of Ultra 7. It'll be nice to see how they play around with that in the show. And the good thing about that is I appreciate when a tokusatsu series can do that, can get a new audience in, but the older audience who's more familiar with these characters, they can sit down with their, their kids, their younger relatives and be like, hey, you know what? I used to watch this. There's something in it for me too. Let's go ahead and watch this together. And then it becomes a generational thing.
Yes, definitely.
Which is something I think the Japanese take for granted because they have a lot of that more ingrained here, whereas here there's still kind of a disjunct between, I'm a parent now and my kid's watching Power Rangers, and it might be a little weirder to bond with them over it because I grew up with it.
Yeah, but I don't feel like that same stigma hangs around when it comes to Ultraman.
No, because Ultraman, we bring this up every so often, Ultraman is to the Japanese what Superman is to us.
Yes.
He's the face of that country's heroism because they look up to him and they've seen him for so many years that he's a household name, literally. So at this point, having another installment, it means a lot, and it'll be a great thing to see people getting to share that, not only over there, but hopefully over here too, should Crunchyroll go ahead and decide, yeah, we're going to go ahead and show this as well.
I'm excited to see how it turns out. I'm really excited to see how this female lead handles her wushu training. And
yes, if any of you guys have seen any of the action clips of her from Heisei Generations, she did all her own stunts, no stunt double. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they're going to implement that into the show, because you can't have somebody with that much skill and then not have them use it.
Exactly. Yes.
Otherwise, it would be a waste.
It'd be weird.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
It'd be real weird. I think we're gonna have to wrap it up here.
Yes.
We're hitting the end of the hour. And that'll about do it, yeah?
That'll do it, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, to hanging out with us for this past hour here on this episode. If you're here with us live right now, thank you so much. Please stick around for an additional half an hour so that you can talk with us a little longer during our Q&A time. If you're watching this later on down the road on YouTube, thank you so much for watching, but it would be really cool if you could get down here and talk with us at 9 p.m. Central here, both on youtube.com/MarsGirl and twitch.tv/MarsGirl, so that you can spend the next half hour talking with these lovely people and with us too, because otherwise that's something you don't get to see and do.
Yes. And of course, during the week, you can always talk to us over on social media. On Twitter, I'm Josh Knight First.
And I'm at MarsGirl.
And having been said, that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We'll see you guys again next week.
Thank you, everybody.
But don't actually go anywhere. We're still
leave.
here. Yeah, don't leave.
I just need to cut this.
Yeah, we just